Welcome back. You're with us on Business Saturday. Now, it's been a special week for all of us here at CNBC-TV18 as we turned 20 years old yesterday. We have been speaking to market veterans and top fund managers to get a sense of where the market is headed and how they expect the economy to progress going forward.
Now, in my view, if the government suddenly announced today that the fiscal deficit is going to be 5%, not 3.3%, it will be taken positively by the stock market and indeed the bond market, because everybody realizes that's the situation anyway. Because this is a dramatic slowdown in nominal GDP growth, and hopefully, as I say, it's a V-shaped one like it was back in 2009. I'll jump over that chart.
Right now, as in the last few days, I don't feel as good as I was feeling a few weeks before. And my thinking is that this government is not giving us some new interesting ideas that we can hope for. Right now, the new developments, discussions don't seem exciting. Plus also the announcements that the government has made in the last 3-4 months or whatever, 2-3 months, we don't have an account of what happened, as in what all succeeded, what was the progress which was promised in those conference calls or whatever, in those press conferences every week.
By any classic definition of whether the bull market became a bear market, that is a 20% fall, that never really happened. While of course a lot of pain has been felt in the small cap and mid cap stocks, so it felt like a bear market. But by the technical definition, we were never in a bear market. I don't want to diminish the impact of the pain that has been on the street for the last couple of years. But the good news is the bull market's impact.
I believe that most of investors see the economy in India doing better next year and the growth continuing. The temporary problems that India's had are temporary. I can see their concern about inflation, but I think it's a short-term concern. The real concern is growth of the economy, because as you know, if the economy is growing, then you can solve these price problems.
I think it surely is definitely fueled by liquidity, and I think all rallies definitely need liquidity. I mean, apart from fundamentals, you also need liquidity for it to drive. It's like basically the engine as well as the petrol in the car. So I think it's definitely that. I clearly believe that investors still have faith in the long-term India growth story. I don't think it's given up hopes. Otherwise, we would not be having the Sensex or the Nifty at record highs.
And let's also take a look at the United States, where Wall Street has edged higher on the back of strong jobs data. So the U.S. economy added 266,000 jobs in November, beating analyst expectations, and the unemployment rate has also fallen to a historic low of 3.5%. In fact, CNBC's Meg Terrell is here with a wrap of all the action on Wall Street. Meg.
U.S. stocks finishing higher, the Dow spiking 337 points, the S&P jumping 28 points, and the Nasdaq climbing 85. Jobs growth soaring in November. The employment report out this morning showing U.S. companies adding more jobs than expected, including gains in healthcare and social services. The government reporting non-farm payrolls increased by 266,000, surpassing the 187,000 economists were calling for. Meanwhile, Uber revealing that more than 3,000 sexual assaults occurred during rides on its service in the U.S. in 2018. According to a comprehensive U.S. safety report, Uber received 235 reports of rape during rides last year, an average of 4 reported incidents per week in the U.S. This is the ride-hailing company and its peers have been criticized over personal safety issues for years. And oil prices rallying after energy ministers from some of the world's largest oil producers agreed to deepen oil production cuts by an additional 500,000 barrels per day through March 2020. The new deal will see OPEC and non-OPEC allies reduce total oil output by 1.7 million barrels per day. That's the action from the U.S. market. Back to you in Mumbai.
Right. Many thanks, Meg, for getting us the latest from what's transpired in the United States. Let's also hear out some experts on what they made of that strong jobs data coming out of the country.
I think that a couple of things are going on. One, we're seeing that a lot of the weakness which was observed over the summer and really over the better part of the past year in manufacturing is remaining contained to that part of the economy. The other thing is that while you are seeing some wage pressure, and if you look at average hourly earnings for production and non-supervisory workers, that was up close to 3.7% versus the 3.1 for the aggregate figure. What that says to me is you're seeing pockets of wage growth in the economy, but it seems unlikely that that passes through into consumer prices. You know, productivity is still a little bit soft, and I think businesses are just a little bit hesitant on what happens if they increase prices. Does demand then begin to falter?
I don't think inflation dynamics back yet, especially if we do get a phase one trade deal. We won't get that extra lift from tariffs and retail, which we don't want anyways. That's the bad way to get inflation. What we continue to see, I agree, is the competition out there is very hard. Retail margins are razor thin. And of course, even during this holiday season, with the compressed holiday season between Thanksgiving and Christmas only being 26 days, retailers are worried about unloading the inventories they ordered up for the holiday seasons, which means even more discounts. So I think it's going to be very hard to get the upward pressure on inflation that the Fed wants, but this report is strong enough that it does let the Fed feel like it's firmly on the sidelines as it enters an election year, which is exactly where it would like to be. It would rather not have to do anything in an election year.
Like we told you, the big trigger in the commodity space has been that 500,000 barrels oil production cut announced by OPEC and its allies. We have Manisha Gupta joining us on the phone line to analyze the impact. Manisha, over to you.
Arif, thank you so much for that, Welly, as the OPEC meeting has quite been on the surprising side. So one is that the markets are now ready for an output cut, which is more than 1.2 million barrels. The OPEC and allies, which consists of 24 oil-producing countries, will now cut 1.7 million barrels together. So that's 4 lakh barrels of an increase there. Also, most of this would come in on for the OPEC members. 3.95 of the 5 lakh barrels would be cut in by the OPEC members, and rest would be cut by non-OPEC. Also, when you look at the Saudi Arabia output cut, they have cut 4 lakh barrels more. So if you add all of that, we actually are standing at 2.1 million barrels per day of a cut coming in from the OPEC and allies. The other important point is that the extension that the markets were anticipating that could happen until June or September, that has been kept on hold right now. So these deeper output cuts will last until March 2020. That is when the OPEC and the allies will meet yet again, and they will review on how much of cuts are needed for going forward. Will they extend this deal? So that is another thing incoming. But amidst all of that, we have seen the crude oil prices jump up quite strongly. If you look at the Brent prices, they gained 2% on Friday, and the U.S. crude oil prices have closed the previous week nearly 7% on the higher side, and this has been the best week since June. It would be interesting to see on how the Asian and the European markets react on Monday morning. But at this point in time, the knee-jerk reaction, the brief gain in crude oil prices, looks like is here to stay.
CNBC-TV18. Now, the second phase of voting is underway in the by-polls for 20 assembly seats in Jharkhand. And Jharkhand Chief Minister Raghubar Das is among the big faces whose fate will be decided in those polls today. Meanwhile, Jharkhand's Tamar constituency has seen some unusual candidates, such as former Maoist Kundan Pahan, who has been accused of more than 100 offences. Another controversial name is Gopal Krishan from NCP, who is linked to a high-profile murder. And the elections are being conducted in 5 phases in order to elect 81 members to the State Legislative Assembly. Now, the poll results will be announced on the 23rd of December. And in a tragic news, the Unnao rape victim who was set ablaze by her alleged rapist has passed away at Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi. CNN News 18's Runjun Sharma reports from New Delhi.
The autopsy of the 23-year-old Unnao rape victim is currently underway at the Safdarjung Hospital in New Delhi. The girl succumbed to her injuries late last night at 11:40 after she suffered a cardiac arrest at 11:10. Now, from the very beginning, when the girl was airlifted from a hospital in Lucknow to Safdarjung, the doctors maintained that the chances of her survival are minimal because the girl had suffered over 90% burns on her body, and of course a team of doctors was trying their best, but you know, with over 90% burns, it was only a matter of time, you know, when she succumbed to her injuries. Of course, The family was hoping against hope, but now after I spoke to the family, what they're saying is the only thing they're looking forward to is justice and a quick punishment for the men accused in this particular incident. What was really, really shameful and appalling in this incident was that there was no police protection for the rape victim. While she was on her way for the hearing at Raebareli, she was beaten and then set on fire by 5 men, 2 of them her alleged rapists.
Right, so somber news coming in from Delhi today from that rape case, and now that victim passing away. And MasterCard and News 18 Network have come together to launch Team Cashless India, an initiative